Welcome to another episode of the MMA Lock-Cast. I'm your host, Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMA LOTN. This week we're going over UFC 247 going down in Houston, headlined by two title fights. We got Jon Jones against Dominick Reyes in the main event, and in the co-main event, we got the women's 125 GOAT, Valentina Shevchenko, coming in as a minus 1,000 favorite against challenger Katlyn Chookagian, who presents an interesting threat to her, but I'm not sure how catastrophic or significant that threat actually is. So we'll get into that a little bit later in the card. However, we had a week off. It feels weird. You know, every time I take a week off or whatever the hell it is, it just feels like I've never done this before, and I got to break right back into the mold. But we got 8 straight weeks of events coming up, so I'm excited for that. Maybe once I dust off the rust this week, I'll get back into my groove next week. We're supposed to be at Big Rob's place today, since it's a pay-per-view event, and also have a guest. However, none of those things are happening today. Conflict schedules with my man Big Rob, but we're right back at it. Regardless, I can still bring you guys the content, and this is the first event in a while where I'm going to be going over the entire card and not just give you guys quick picks for the prelim. So I know most of you guys are excited for that. And one of the last Jon Jones cards I called, I think it was the Anthony Smith one, now that I'm thinking about it, hit pretty much every single pick on that. So maybe Jon Jones is good luck for me, and we can try to get some more W's here with another Jon Jones card. So let's talk about the last event real quick. 3 losses on that card, including the lock of the night play, which was Rafael dos Anjos. I had 4 units at minus 242. The only reason I didn't go the full 5 units is kind of what played out in this fight with Michael Chiesa. You know, everybody knew he was bigger. I knew he was bigger. I just think that a lot of people were putting too much stock into that. But he was still able to overwhelm Rafael dos Anjos. Dos Anjos wasn't able to escape those positions as I thought he would, in the second round and moving forward from there. You know, I thought Chiesa, his best chance was to win the first round, maybe get a little bit of the second round and, lose the third round. However, he dominated from bell to bell. Kudos to him. He's real deal 170. I won't doubt him that much. But if they do give him that Colby Covington fight, I'm unloading the house on Colby Covington. I'm just saying that. Chiesa's jiu-jitsu is awesome. He might be strong, but Colby Covington's pace and wrestling is going to be too much for him. But I highly doubt they even book that. I think we're going to get Colby waiting out to the end of the year and probably getting the winner of Kamaru Usman and Masvidal, and that's all be frank here. It's probably going to be Kamaru Usman, so we'll get that rematch there. But so that was the lock of the night play. My dog of the night play I had one dog of the night play, which is 1.3 units at plus 136 on Lena Landsberg. Expected that fight to play a little bit out in the clinch positions a little bit more before Sarah McMahon was actually able to get the fight to the ground. There was no transition period. There was no clinch period pretty much. Sarah McMahon, pretty much every shot that she shot, she was able to get Lena Landsberg down, and it was pretty easy for her too. There was no stalemate positions in terms of Lena Landsberg even trying to use a little bit of takedown defense. I thought that's where she'll do most of her damage, with her elbows, her knees. She has a nasty Muay Thai game. Sarah McMahon shut that shit down, got her down, and rolled her out all 3 rounds. Good for her, decent underdog play in my opinion at plus 136, considering what we've seen recently, as well as the fact that Sarah McMahon was coming off such an extended layoff, just gave birth, and had a pretty nasty injury as well. So I was willing to take those odds against Lena Landsberg, who's looked great in her last couple fights. And then lastly, we had a 1.7 unit play. I had 1.4 units at minus 102 and then 0.3 units at plus 110 on Jamal Hill versus Darko Stosic to go under 2.5 rounds. I was very happy with the fact that we got the under 2.5. As you guys have been noticing, if you guys have been following me for a while now, that I'm leaning more towards playing the unders rather than the fight doesn't go to decisions. I'm trying to play bets that are more tailable. I'm not saying that I'm the most tailable capper at this moment, but I want to be able to play straights and totals. That's what's most widely available, and I want to be able to, cater to those people as well that may not have access to fight doesn't go decision lines. And, the 2.5 minutes sometimes does make a difference in terms of playing the under 2.5 compared to the fight doesn't go to decision. And you get slightly better odds as well. So, I try to be careful with those ones. But either way, anybody can tail them since it's just a total or a straight. That ended minus 7 units. That one kind of stung, especially after having 2 or 3 straight profitable events, especially coming off of UFC 246, which is, everything hit except a 1.2 unit stab on Tim Elliott at plus 128. So I was happy with that event. Stumbled a bit here with Raleigh, and we got UFC 247 coming up next. before I get into that card, there is an Invicta, I believe it's Invicta FC 39, that's going to be going down as well. I'm going to be running the tape for that later this week and maybe put out a bet for that if it comes out. I know it's on BetSafe, but if it comes out on Sportbet or Five Dimes or Pinnacle or anything that I'm able to get access to, I may make a play on that. I want to release a quick Lock of the Night minute, or at least a Lock of the Night minute type style video breaking down a fight on that card as well. So make sure you guys look out for that later this week. However, UFC 247 was what the hell you guys are here for. So let's get into that card. Overall, I think it's a pretty weak card. 246 got a lot of slack, but I think 247 is a little bit more, iffy. Justin Tafa against Juan Adams, that's like the Alexei Oleinik and Maurice Green heavyweight fight that was on the card last pay-per-view. Weird. Ige versus Bektic is a great fight. Derrick Lewis versus Latifi. Lewis is pretty much getting fed a bone here. Is he lock-worthy? I don't know. Let's see later in this episode. But I do believe that, this was more so a bone for him to chew in his home state, I believe it's his hometown. I think he's from Houston. If I'm not mistaken, he's always screaming out H-Town ho. So, yeah. He gets Ilir Latifi, who hasn't fought a heavyweight in a long time, and he's already an undersized light heavyweight. This guy's just a bulk of a man. So it's going to be interesting to see how Latifi is able to translate that into the heavyweight division. And then other, fun fights on the, Austin Lingo against Youssef Zalal. Two guys that were put together pretty much 2 weeks ago, just to fill out the card a little bit more because it took so much damage. That should be a fun fight. Two guys that kind of want to prove themselves and have some fun styles. And then we have Andrea Lee versus Lauren Murphy. I'm more so excited to see Andrea Lee. I want to see how she bounces back from the Joanne Calderwood fight. And I think this is a good spot for her to do that. So let's get into the card. You know what I mean? Let's get into the card. I know you guys are excited the fact that I'm going to be going over every single fight again. The Patreon thing still kick in. I got a lot of cool things that I have actually planned for that still. Not able to dedicate as much time as I initially wanted to it, but I still think that I'm able to give you guys enough content for $5 a month on the Patreon to suffice that price. And I'm going to be dropping that information later this week in terms of what I'm going to be doing for the Patreon. But anyway, let's get into UFC 247. This is the first fight of the night, Austin Lingo against Youssef Zalal. This is a fight that, again, I said right off the top, they pretty much put this fight on the card to fill it out. We had a bunch of fights pull out. Alex Morono lost his opponent. He did eventually get a replacement. I believe Jimmy Rivera versus Marlon Vera was on this fight, on this card as well. We lost that one. That would have been a good one. I think Ovin St. Preux was actually supposed to fight Ryan Spann on this card as well. They lost that one too. And we all obviously found out due to the USADA drug testing thing that came out with the OSP. However, he's still cleared to fight, so I'm not sure what exactly happened there. Voice was getting a little cracky there. Anyway, let's get into it. Youssef Zalal, kind of an unorthodox fighter. He has a very long frame for the division, likes to use his kicks. He likes to get wild a little bit. But the one thing that I've noticed in his fights, pretty much every fight that he has won, he's finished. Every fight that he's lost, he's been dragged to a decision. In those two fights that he got dragged to a decision, those guys came with more so of a grappling heavy approach. Jose Mariscal was a great wrestler. He was able to have success with taking Zalal down. There's a lot of people saying that Zalal probably won that fight. I think Mariscal won. It's an LFA fight. I'm not going to get my panties in a bunch or anything about it, but he lost the next fight as well against Matt Jones. That was a split decision. Matt Jones just tried to clinch him as much as possible, but when he gets fighters like Steven Morrell and Jamie Hernandez in front of him, he's able to let loose a little bit more and then, have a flashy finish like a flying knee and also get a Darce choke finish in that fight against Merrill as well. But with Austin Lingo, he's getting a guy that's probably going to be slinging leather with him as well. Austin Lingo's had a lot of success finishing guys within the first round. He's only gone to a decision twice. Haven't been able to find film on the Phil Gonzalez fight, which is one of the fights they went to a decision with. And then the Charles Williams fight. That fight primarily took place on the feet. There was swinging a lot of leather. It was his first pro fight, so maybe I'm thinking he was a little bit, pro shy. In terms of his amateur record, he only had 4 fights, and his last fight that he had before that was actually to the guy that he had his pro debut against. Charles Williams knocked him out in 18 seconds, so maybe he was a little bit gun shy in terms of not actually, fully committing himself to trying to knock out Charles. And I did watch that fight. That was a great fight, and And he did land a lot of good shots, and Charles short off to really good chin. But Lingo's forward movement and his aggression really makes me think that this fight with Zalal is going to be very impressive or very fun, very entertaining to watch as well. So it's going to be Zalal trying to keep the range and land his kicks, whereas Lingo's going to try to close the distance and try to get, get some heavy bombs off and get on the inside. I'm not too thrilled to want to bet a side here, especially with the odds being what they are. Let me pull that up real quick. Minus 210 for Austin Lingo, minus or plus 175 for Zalal. These guys aren't, I still think they're relatively green. They have a lot of holes in their games, but luckily for them, they're fighting guys that probably will allow them to show them their best selves. Again, both guys are pretty forward moving. Youssef would want to keep the range a little bit more. I don't think he's going to be too successful in keeping that. And I think the play here is actually going to be the under. On the Tuesday of recording this podcast, they don't actually have the over-under out. However, I think they would set it at 2.5. And I think that, so the odds here on Sportbet, at least on 5 Dimes, in terms of fight won't go over 2.5, but they have it's weird how they have it actually right now. It says fight won't go 230 round 3. Which pretty much means under 2.5. Why they don't have it listed like that, I have no idea. But no other website has really released their unders or overs yet at the time of this recording. But at minus 135, under 2.5, I'm willing to bite there. I think that there's a lot of, with the ingredients that these guys bring, I think there's a lot of chances that we could have a lot of gunslinging moments. A lot of times where they're trading in the pocket. Zalal comes in for a counter, Lingo catches him with a hook or something like that. I think both guys have the ability to finish, and it shows off. Both of them have only gone to a decision twice. Zalal's had 9 fights. Lingo's had 7 fights. Out of 16 fights, 4 of them have gone to decision. I like my odds there, especially with the styles that they bring. And they're not fighting guys that are clinch heavy or wrestle heavy. They want to swing leather here. So I really like the under here. So I'm not even going to bother with taking the dog shot at plus 175 on Zalal. I like the safer bet here, which is the under, and it might be an actual bet for me as well. I might even go a little bit hard on it. I want to see where Pinnacle drops that line out as well, and it could possibly be a lock of the night play. The last time 2 guys made their debuts and didn't allow the under to hit, even though they had such an aggressive style leading up to that fight, was Antonio Arroyo, who's fighting later on in this card, and Andre Munoz. I knew that burned me in the past, but I like what I'm seeing here from both guys, especially with the fact that both of them have the same type of finishing ability on the feet. I think if anybody's going to get a submission, it's Zalal, but I think it's going to take place mainly on the feet. And if there are any scrambles, look out for Zalal's chokes. Has a Darce choke finish on his record as well. Entertaining guys, maybe not suited for the UFC yet, but should still give us a fun fight to kick off the UFC 247 card. So again, under 2.5 is my pick there. In terms of picking a side, I'm gonna go Zalal. Again, both guys could definitely have a lot to improve on. All right, so Zalal is the pick. Bet's probably going to be the under. That's that. Next up, we got Andrea Ewell against Jonathan Martinez. This is a fight where I'm kind of looking at the dog as well. Jonathan Martinez brings a very interesting style here. In his last fight against Ping Yuan Liu, he wasn't having that much success. He was just lingering. He probably was losing up to that third round against Ping Yuan, and then he lands a beautiful knee. He was flashing that knee throughout the entire fight, which was very interesting. He has that long frame where if he throws that knee up, it's going to be interesting and could cause some problems for his opponents, as it did for Liu. With Andrea Ewell, I think he's going to have the speed advantage here. He might have the hand speed, obviously, here. Slightly better striking. Might be able to hold the range well. But the one thing that I've noticed in his past fights is that he has a lot of trouble with guys who kick a lot. Nathaniel Wood was one of them that was able to kick a lot. Marlon Vera was another guy that got to kick a lot. But one thing that both of those fighters were able to implement was also a forward pressure and not allowing Andrea Ewell to really breathe. And that's kind of what broke him, throughout those fights. The Anderson Dos Santos fight, that fight was a little gritty. Dos Santos hit some really good takedowns in there and was able to hold down Ewell for a little bit. And then Ewell was able to get back up and dish out more damage on the feet. The only issue in that fight compared to the other 2 fights is the fact that Anderson Dos Santos didn't really throw any kicks. He's mainly throwing, a couple kicks, but it wasn't anything as consistent as Wood and Vera was. And I think that Martinez has the ability to do that too. We see him throw beautiful body kicks, and I think he has the wherewithal to, see that that's worked in the past, and he's able to implement it himself too. And if he wants to take a takedown heavy approach too, I think he could have some success holding Andre Ewell down. I think we've seen a little bit of improvement with Ewell's ability to get off the ground, just as he did in the Anderson Dos Santos fight. But the ease into which Dos Santos was able to make his transitions in that fight leaves me to think that Jonathan Martinez would be able to have some similar success too. He may, get shucked off a couple times, but I think that there's more chances of him shutting down Ewell's, forward pressure game with those kicks, body kicks, beautiful body kicks. And then if he wants to mix in those takedowns to get Andre Ewell thinking, it could be his fight. I think it's going to be a tough, gritty fight. I like the dog price on Jonathan Martinez. He's pretty much at even now, plus 105 at Pinnacle. I may have missed out on the best line on him if I'm actually going to take the shot, but I want to see where that line goes over the next couple of days, and I really like him in this spot. Haven't been the most impressed with Ewell outside his fight against the Ghost of Hendon Barao, but that was just strictly due to his hand speed. His 1-2 from the southpaw position is very effective, but Jonathan Martinez is another southpaw going up against him too, so maybe it might not be as easy for him to get those shots off as it was against guys that, don't primarily have a southpaw stance. So I'm going to pick Jonathan Martinez here, probably by decision. Again, mixing the takedowns. As long as he continues to throw his kicks and he throws them often, he's going to get Ewell hesitant, and he won't allow Ewell to get that 1-2 off. He's going to get hit. That's without a doubt, but he's going to have to fight through that, implement those kicks, establish those kicks early, and then he could be, take this fight away from Ewell the longer it goes and start to mix in those takedowns as well. So I got Jonathan Martinez by decision, and I think he's worth a shot at plus money. I'm going to wait it out a little bit to see if people start drinking the Andre Ewell Kool-Aid again and see if we can get a better price on Jonathan Martinez. All right, next up, let's go with Domingo Pilarte versus Journey Newson. All right, this should be a fun fight. If you guys have been following me for a while, you guys saw that I did actually have Domingo Pilarte in a lock of the night play last time around, because I was impressed with the guy. He showed a lot of resilience in his Contender Series fight, and then, was able to come back and get the finish in that fight. Very strong, heavy wrestling game, decent jiu-jitsu, but in a guy in Journey Newson, this fight's going to be pretty even. And currently, considering the fact that the odds are minus 130 to plus 110 for Domingo Pilarte as the favorite, you got to think the value is currently on Journey Newson. Newson, brown belt, amazing jiu-jitsu, very strong himself as well, very good wrestling game himself as well. I think Pilarte is the better wrestler overall, but I think that Newson might have the better grappling here. So it's going to come down to who's able to establish the grappling. There's been plenty of times where we've had wrestler go up against wrestler or grappler go up against grappler, and they just strictly strike it. They just go for a striking battle. And I think that Pilarte holds a little bit more power in his hands. I can't say who exactly is better on the feet, but I see them kind of trying to. I could see this actually playing out as more so as a grappling match than a striking match now that I'm thinking about it. And I think that Newson might be able to get the better of the exchanges. We saw that Pilarte had a lot of issues with Felipe Colares last time around, and you could chalk that up to either, ring rust. It was a long time since he had last fought, since he got the contract off the Contender Series. But then with Newson in his fight against Ricardo Ramos as well, he had some decent moments in there. Held his own, was able to fend Ricardo Ramos off his back, pretty much win the first minute or two of the actual fight, and then still make it to a decision with Ricardo Ramos. And after eating a lot of heavy shots too, Ramos landed a lot of spinning back elbows in that too. There's one that was like this close. If he was just like a half inch closer to Newson, he would be able to actually knock him out there. But Newson, again, came in on super short notice against Ricardo Ramos, pretty much a week in advance, and then Pilarte with his ring rust. It's going to be interesting to see where these guys actually show up and what kind of headspace they're in coming into this second fight in the UFC for both of them. So just sitting on the sidelines, I'm happier on the bench here. I don't really want to bet a side here. If you are kind of forcing yourself to make a bet, I think Journey Newson is the way to go since he has the dog money. And I think I'm going to go that way too. I'm going to pick another dog here. I'm going to go with Journey Newson. I think that his jiu-jitsu is really going to come in handy here. I'm going to go with Newson. Next up, we got Miles Johns against Mario Bautista. 3 straight fights, 3 straight super close odds. Super close. We got minus 140 for Miles Johns. We got plus 120 for Mario Bautista. Very excited for this fight because I like the dog here a little bit too. Price is slightly getting better, plus 123 at Sportbet, which is a site that I have access to. But let's start off with Miles Johns. We're talking about a wrestling-centric fighter. He has that mold that I talked about this for years now. As long as you've been watching this podcast, excuse me, you will know when I'm talking about these wrestlers. I'm talking about the guys that are, wrestling heavy, but then they blitz with these hooks. And with Miles Johns, I'll give it to him a little bit. I think he has really good explosive forward movements when he's actually trying to close the distance with his hooks. And he holds a lot of power in his hands too. He's able to really hurt these guys and put them on Queer Street. He hurt Richie Santiago a lot of times. Cole Smith, he landed a lot of big shots on. He wasn't able to finish either guy, but I think that with Mario Bautista, we've seen him get rocked in the past and dropped before. And if Miles Johns lands cleanly enough on him, he should be able to get to get a knockout or even get a finish. The difference here though is going to be the leg length. That's weird to say. So Miles Johns is 5'7", Mario Bautista is 5'9", 69 inches to 68 inches. But I think that we're still going to see a little bit of a size difference, and the fact that that Mario Bautista will be able to use his kicks, really attack the body of Miles Johns, and make him work. And Miles Johns might be able to get him down in the first round, but I think that he's going to have a hard time keeping him down. We haven't seen him have too much success actually keeping guys down. And with Bautista continuously getting up, and, he's not the easiest guy to hold down. He did get taken down a couple of times by Jinsu's son, but he was right back up. His cardio is on point, and that's kind of a worry about Miles Johns as well, is the fact that this guy is not able to really push the pace and keep the pace for 15 minutes. And yeah, the fight that he had against Cole Smith, he seemed like the fresher fighter out of the two, but I think that Mario Bautista is going to push a little bit better of a pace and do more damage on Miles Johns to make it more of a difference. And I could see him pulling away with the fight later, probably winning over 1.5. It's going to come down to, as long as Bautista gets out of that first round, he should be able to outpoint and stay away from the grappling enough and make Miles Johns pay on those grappling mistakes to win the second and third round. So I like the dog here again. Another dog play for you guys is Mario Bautista. Personally, I'm going to be choosing between Jonathan Martinez and Miles Johns, at least as a dog. There might be another dog that I see later in the card, but those are definitely one of the two that I'm really looking to pick. Odds-wise, Bautista has a slightly better price, but I'm going to see where the line moves as this week progresses. So I'm going to take Mario Bautista by decision, but I could potentially see a late finish for him as well due to Miles Johns' questionable gas tank at times. Next up, we got Alex Morono versus Kalinn Williams. The odds are minus 270 for Alex Morono, plus 230 for Kalinn Williams. Let's start off with UFC newcomer Kalinn Williams here. He's coming off a victory over Jeremy Holloway last time around. He went to a decision in that fight, but it looked a little bit sketchy for him for a second. And his blitzing style and striking is a little bit suspect in my opinion. I've never seen somebody windmill as much as this guy, and a lot of people are saying he has a lot of power in his hands, and I believe them. I get it. He seems like a guy that has a lot of power in his hands, but somebody with crisp striking is going to be able to put this guy on his butt, land straight right on the button, and just absolutely knock him out. Do I think that Alex Morono is that guy? Probably not. Alex Morono himself throws baseball overhand hooks. It's insane. He throws everything into those hooks, thinking he's going to knock everybody out. So I think this is a fight kind of made for the fight doesn't go to decision as well, or even the under. Let's see if what those odds are currently at. These odds literally dropped right before I started recording this podcast. Fight doesn't go to decision is plus 110, and the under 2.5, they're weirdly worded. Under 2.5 is plus 140. So might be a decent dog violence bet there, considering how much these guys swing. Kalinn Williams, somebody that was talking to, they kind of related him to Derek Brunson, which I thought was hilarious. I kind of see it. They just the way they wing their hooks and their punches and try to land that home run punch pretty much every single time. I kind of get it. And decent wrestling. He's very powerful, it looks like, too. But I think he's going to have a little bit of jiu-jitsu issues here against Alex Morono, who's pretty good off of his back, in my opinion. Especially with a guy who kind of seems green. He's 9-1. His only loss is to a guy named Dan Yos. Never heard of that guy before. I have heard of Tony Hervey, who was 17-19 when he went into him. But that was a very respectable journeyman on the Michigan and Ontario scene for a long time. Worked a lot of events with him on it as well. But the fact that he was able to beat him, kind of impressed, I won't lie. But with Alex Morono, I don't know if this is the guy that you want to be betting at minus 270, considering how wild he is as well. But I think that, the fight doesn't go to decision is probably the most interesting bet here. Plus 140, if they actually released under 2.5 at that price, I might take a little bit of a stab just based on their styles. Just like the Lingo and Zalal fight, I think this fight has a good chance of going under 2.5. Somebody's going to get knocked out, or I could see Alex Morono, hurting Kalinn and then finishing him late as well. So that's why I would take the 2.5 and not the 1.5. If they drop it at 1.5, I don't think they will, considering how many decisions these guys have gone to. But again, once you put these guys together and with their skills, I think we see a finish here. In terms of who I think wins, I'm going to say Williams. I think he gets a little bit too wild. Morono might be able to catch him first, maybe even get a takedown and then work his jiu-jitsu. But I think that we get Morono. I'm going to take Morono by sub, probably mid-second round. All right, next up we got Andrea Lee versus Lauren Murphy. Odds on this currently at minus 340 for Andrea Lee, plus 280 for Lauren Murphy. When this fight initially got announced, I was thinking Andrea Lee, lock of the night bet, no-brainer. However, minus 340 is not a price I'm willing to pay, which is why I am possibly considering her as a parlay piece for with another fight later in this card as my potential lock of the night play. I'll let you guys know what the second leg of that once I get to that fight. But I think that her speed, her overall game is just a lot better than Lauren Murphy. Lauren Murphy was able to have success against Mara Romero Barella in her last fight. Landed a brutal knee after rocking her with the beautiful uppercut in the third round and then just following up and finishing her. But pretty much the whole fight, we saw a lot of success. Well, I'd say the first round, we saw a lot of success with Romero, where she was able to be quicker, outstriking Murphy, moving very well. But then in the second round, she got caught up against the cage, and Murphy was able to outmuscle her. I think that we've seen the progression of Andrea Lee's grappling game, and she had some unfortunate luck with Joanne Calderwood last time around in a fight where I don't know how many people would actually say you would see Joanne Calderwood going for a takedown and being successful with it, especially with Andrea Lee just coming off that fight with Montana De La Rosa, who in my opinion is probably like top 3, top 4 grapplers in that division. And, she did get taken down once, but she was able to get back up, and then she was able to stuff all the takedowns after that against Montana De La Rosa. I thought she was going to have no issues with the grappling if Joanne Calderwood even attempted to take the fight there. Maybe it just caught Andrea Lee off guard. So Lee, loses a split decision in her last fight against Joanne Calderwood. And I think this is a great fight against Lauren Murphy, where she's going to be the quicker fighter, the better striker, probably the better wrestling here too. Murphy does look like she has a strong physical build, but I think that Andrea Lee is quite strong as well too. She was holding her own against De La Rosa, who's a quite strong, woman herself. So I like Andrea Lee here. I think that she, outstrike Lauren Murphy, take it to the ground if she needs to. I think if she does get caught up against the fence, she'll have a decent enough chance to be able to, get the over-unders, reverse position, maybe implement her own takedown at that point or breakaway and use the striking. I think her best road to victory here would probably be the striking, constant movement, just being the quicker fighter, getting in and out, 3-4 shots, ending off with a leg kick. Best thing for her, best path to victory. I understand why she's minus 340, considering the perception that everybody has of both of these fighters. But I think that Andrea Lee, deserves that minus 340. But I'm not willing to bet it straight. But I think there is something else later in the card that I would be willing to parlay it with to get better odds. But I like Andrea Lee here to win by decision over a very tough and durable Lauren Murphy. Next up, we got Trevin Giles against Antonio Arroyo. Don't want to get too much into this in terms of like the technicalities of it. Antonio Arroyo really disappointed me last time around. Very good striker in his tough contender series fight. Was it? Yeah, it was the contender series. Why I call it the tough dummy? The contender series fight that he had, very kick heavy. He throws kicks to the body with relative ease, with a lot of power as well. And I think, that's going to be big for him moving on. He is very big for this actual division as well, 6'2", 73.5-inch reach, whereas Trevin Giles, I believe, is 6 foot, 74.5 or 74-inch reach, slightly taller, very big dude, good striking. Trevin Giles, kind of falling flat on his face after suffering 2 straight losses to Zach Cummings and Gerald Mirsad. Both guys need this win. I think this is kind of both guys are on the chopping block, even though that Arroyo has only lost 1 fight. I wanted to check out the odds for this real quick. -130, Trevin Giles, +110, Antonio Arroyo. I think you got to go dog here. Maybe even the fight doesn't go to decision, -140. What's the under? Under 2.5 is -115. Under 1.5 is +165. This is possibly another violence bet. I don't feel comfortable betting either side, but if you're going to give me plus money on Antonio Arroyo, considering how Giles has looked as of late as well, I'm going to take that on Arroyo. The only thing you need to be worried about with Arroyo here is kind of his gas tank. He really shit the bed when he wasn't able to get the finish over Andre Muniz last time around, and then he was able to get out grappled there. I see this being a relatively quickish fight, maybe 2.5 or maybe 2 rounds, under 2.5 rounds. But I like Arroyo here, and then we see Trevin Giles exit the UFC. Not as keen on betting the under here as I am the Morono and Williams fight, but still something to consider. And with it being at plus money, why not? But in terms of betting on this fight, I'm probably going to stay away with it. And if you really, really want to bet on it for some degenerate goddamn reason, go with the under 2.5 if they release it at that number. All right, that brings us to our main card, Derrick Lewis versus Ilir Latifi. This is a fun fight with Derrick Lewis and Latifi because we know it's just meant to be chaos. Let's be honest. Derrick Lewis fighting in his hometown, H-Town, trying to string together 2 wins after he had that victory over Blagoy Ivanov. Split decision. It was actually one of the first deciding splits episodes that we did. Had a lot of fun with that. It's tough to see how Latifi wins this, but it's also tough to justify betting Derrick Lewis at -245. We've seen his back give out on him. We've seen him, just completely Homer Simpson it and then eventually get that late KO. But, can you really always bank on that? I don't know how you can comfortably say that you can trust your money on Derrick Lewis. And I've ragged on him in the past, and I have bet on him in the past. I've bet against him in the past, and he's proven me wrong. But I just don't feel like the money sits right with Derrick Lewis. He doesn't really have the skill. He just has the brute strength and will and heart. It's insane. It's immeasurable what this guy brings to the table. But on any given night, any guy could go out there and out wrestle him. Any guy could, go out there and give him a fight of his life. Is Latifi that guy? Probably not. Latifi's giving up a lot of size here. We've seen Derrick Lewis be held down by fighters in the past, but then when he really says fuck it and just really wants to get up, uses absolutely no technique, just turns over, gets up, gets his ass back up, and there's nothing that his opponent can do about it. And I don't see, Latifi obviously has a wrestling advantage in this fight. In my opinion, he might be successful in getting Derrick Lewis down. Is he going to keep Derrick Lewis down, or is he going to be able to choke out, or is he going to finish Derrick Lewis? Maybe not. Maybe he catches him in an arm triangle choke. That's a possibility. But I'm not comfortable betting either side here. Derrick Lewis can easily land a shot on near Latifi and just put him out. Latifi has had some chin issues as of late, and Derrick Lewis is probably the second heaviest puncher behind Francis Ngannou in this division. So it's hard for me to see to justify a bet on Ilir Latifi. Give me plus 215 and I'll think about it. But plus 205, I'd be more comfortable with betting the under 1.5. But this could be an easy, it's -115 or would be -115. Yeah, just another stay away fight for me. See a lot of people parlaying Derrick Lewis. Be careful. See a lot of other people betting heavy and parlaying another heavyweight later on in this main card. Let's be careful. That's all I'm going to say. Next up, we got Dan Ige versus Mirsad Bektic. this is a fight that I'm very excited for because I think that both guys, well, they kind of have different trajectories, if we're being honest. Danny Ige is riding a 4-fight winning streak over Mike Santiago, Jordan Griffin, Danny Henry, and Kevin Aguilar. He has not looked better either. He keeps improving in every single fight, but there are some holes that I believe are still lingering in his game. And I think that Mirsad Bektic, considering the trajectory of both of their careers at this moment, is being highly undervalued here. A lot of people are overlooking him just due to the fact that he's lost to Josh Emmett. He's 2-2 in his last 4. A lot of people are thinking that he'd probably be fighting for a title at this point in time. However, he just keeps suffering setbacks. The Darren Elkins fight, we all know the thing there in terms of completely gassing out, trying to finish Elkins earlier in the fight, and then he gets finished himself. And then in the Josh Emmett fight, Emmett lands a perfect jab, perfectly timed. The momentum of Mirsad Bektic trying to close the distance and the pop that Josh Emmett was able to land with that jab and floor Mirsad Bektic. It took a lot of other shots for Bektic to finally get put away. So I'm not completely sold on the narrative that Mirsad Bektic is chinny as fuck just because he got dropped by a perfectly timed jab. You can't read too much into that. The Darren Elkins fight completely gassed. That obviously led to the finish there. And then the Josh Emmett one, again, perfectly placed uppercut. And he was able to get the finish there. I think this is a perfect fight for Bektic. If I'm being honest, we have a ground and pound finish for Danny Ige against Mike Santiago, and then a rear naked choke against Danny Henry. He's not the biggest knockout threat. I think that Mirsad Bektic will be able to, stay away from the power shots, but still be able to out-grapple Danny Ige here. Ige has good jiu-jitsu, but I think it's not on the level of Mirsad Bektic's grappling game. Bektic is obviously going to be the more athletic, the more powerful fighter in there. Moves better, in my opinion, as well. And I think it's just a case of, again, Mirsad Bektic seems like he's on the way down. Danny Ige seems like he's on the way up. And I think the odds are reflecting this. And this is going to be recency bias put to the test. Let's be honest. So I like the value that we're going to be getting on Mirsad Bektic here. And he'll more than likely be a bet for me too. Minus 129 on Pinnacle currently for me. I'm going to see, I still think people are going to be buying in on the Danny Ige hype. I'll wait a couple more days and see if I can get a better line on Mirsad Bektic. But I'd be willing to put at least 1.5 to 1.8-ish units on Mirsad Bektic. Maybe 2. We'll see. I want to see how I'm able to, risk manage the rest of the night before I go too deep on Mirsad Bektic. Lock of the night deep? No. I will give a little bit of I'll try to be a little bit safer and go no more than 2 units on Bektic, but I think that this is a perfect spot to hit. And again, why am I being greedy? Why do I need to put 4 units or 5 units on a minus 125, minus 130 that we could potentially be getting on Bektic? So I'm going to take Bektic by decision. I think he's extremely undervalued here, and I think that everybody should be hopping on that and making sure they jump on that, taking advantage of that line. All right, next up. We got Justin Tafa against Juan Adams. Let's start off real quick with Justin Tafa coming into the UFC only 3-0. Relatively quick fights. And then in the Yorgan De Castro fight, gets completely sloppy, closing a distance against Castro, and gets clipped by a beautiful counter right by De Castro, and Castro puts him out. Unfortunate because that was in the Justin Tafa's neck of the woods too, so that must have been a very unfortunate post-fight celebration for him, or celebration, whatever you want to call it. But now he comes into this fight against Juan Adams, where I think a lot of people are overvaluing Juan Adams here. Obviously Adams probably has the advantage when it comes to wrestling. Okay, does he have the fight IQ to be able to close a distance intelligently and get that takedown without eating heavy shots from Justin Tafa? And as poor as Tafa's entry was against Yorgan De Castro, I don't think that Juan Adams has the technical capabilities to launch that kind of counter-strike as Yorgan De Castro, or with that type of sharpness. I don't believe in the guy. He's got to show me a little bit more before I'm like, okay, Juan Adams, he is starting to step into that mold of the potential that he had, coming off that Contender Series fight he had against Sean Ted. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, lost a decision to Arjun Buller, and then lost to that, to Greg Hardy last time around, where he just completely choked. Had a weird wizard type maneuver that he was trying on Greg Hardy, and then Greg Hardy just reversed it, landed a couple shots, and put out Juan Adams. Juan Adams was complaining afterwards, completely unjustified. He wasn't defending himself. We completely understand why. Both guys are still relatively green, and let's be honest, I don't know if they really have top 10 potential. And the fact that Juan Adams is minus 245, that's a little ridiculous. Let's be real here, people. I know that Justin Tafa really got fucked up in his last fight and really got put out kind of bad, and people think that Juan Adams is going to be able to bring that same type of that power. The fact that his technique lacks as much as it does, it's going to be tough for him to actually land on Tafa. And if Tafa's chin is like completely gone, like if it's Chuck Liddell level gone, then okay, you'll probably get him. But I think Justin Tafa has the better technical striking, and he might be able to make it a harder night for Juan Adams. So 0.5 unit play on Justin Tafa, in my opinion, is not the worst thing in the world. If you're going to give me plus 210 or plus 235 to fade Juan Adams here against a technically better striker, maybe chin not the best, and obviously Juan Adams has the wrestling credentials to get this fight to the ground. Will he be able to get the fight to the ground is my question. So I don't believe you will. I think Justin Tafa will knock him out. So I'm going to go Tafa here, and I'll take him by second round TKO. All right, that brings us to our co-main event. Valentina Shevchenko versus Katlyn Chookagian. Again, with these Shevchenko fights, not much to go over. You want to kind of present the challengers' threats and what they're actually able to potentially, how they're potentially able to steal this victory and, potentially spring the biggest upset of all time. Let's be honest. If Katlyn Chookagian goes out there and beats Valentina Shevchenko, or even worse, finishes Valentina Shevchenko, bigger upset than GSP and Matt Serra. I'm going to be real. And I think everybody would lose their mind if that actually happens. Valentina Shevchenko, minus 1,100 favorite on 5 times. Absolutely insane. But I think she is worthy of it. So let's start off with the threats that Katlyn Chookagian possibly, has to defeat Valentina Shevchenko. She moves well. She kicks well. She has pretty good jiu-jitsu. But that's about it. She could stick and move a lot. She could make Valentina Shevchenko throw at air a little bit. But is she going to be able to get away with that for at least 3 out of 5 rounds? I don't know. I think at a certain point, Shevchenko is going to be able to counter Chookagian perfectly. I could see her landing a lot of spinning back kicks whenever Chookagian attempts to close the distance with that 1-2 or, some of the strikes that she's going to be throwing. But I think that Shevchenko just has too much power. I think once Chookagian feels the power that Shevchenko's throwing in return, Chookagian's going to be a little bit more hesitant closing the distance as much as she is. I don't see this as being a Shevchenko finish. I think this is more so the recipe of a Shevchenko decision. However, don't know how well Shevchenko might be able to catch Chookagian, or if she's able to get her to the ground and possibly use her jiu-jitsu. I think Chookagian has a lot better of a chance on the ground than people are giving her. However, I think that Shevchenko is still better than her in that aspect. We haven't seen the most jiu-jitsu from Chookagian. She's mainly been a striker, but she has that in her back pocket if she needs it. And I think she's going to need everything in this fight to beat Shevchenko. I think her best path to victory is sticking and moving, hitting and not getting hit as much. But even that's playing with fire. Again, you're fighting a person with such good counter-striking. What Shevchenko was able to do against Holly Holm was beautiful. I think that Chookagian, she doesn't have that same style of striking as Holly Holm, but she still has, she has a different type of movement. She's more pitter-patter. Holly Holm likes to throw a little bit more finishing strikes. Chookagian, not so much. And she's even said, I'm not willing to really change my style against Shevchenko here. Obviously, girl, do what got you to the dance, pretty much. It's so unfortunate for Shevchenko on the level of competition that she's had to go up against just due to the lack of competition at the 125 division. It's about time that we see her against Amanda Nunes 3. I think that's the only fight to make for Shevchenko. The only other fight, you could potentially make a case for is Scotland's own Joanne Calderwood, since she has that big win over Andrea Lee, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. And then possibly Macy Barber. We saw her train get stopped by Roxanne Modafari, and then she tore her ACL completely. She's going to be out another 9 months, so Shevchenko's going to be scoundering for some fucking challengers after she's able to dispose of Chookagian. So there is MMA gods love to fuck with us. There is a slight possibility that Chookagian is going to be able to squeak out a decision just off of, sticking and moving for 3 rounds at minimum. Don't see that happening at all. But like my man Cody Safdie said in one of our last Combatosaurus episodes, there is the banana peel method. There might be the banana peel theory, where Valentina Shevchenko goes out there, steps on her ankle wrong. We get the Michael Chandler, Brent Primus situation. We get a Alan Crowder, Greg Hardy situation, and Chookagian somehow comes away the winner. For that reason alone, I am not willing to bet Shevchenko at minus 1,100. Give me minus 600. Give me minus 650. After minus 700, I feel like there's the banana peel method that you got to consider. So minus 1,100, not on my radar anymore. But I'm still taking Valentina Shevchenko to win by decision, and I think she's going to look damn good doing it. Catching Chookagian on the entries, countering beautifully, and just pretty much outpointing her all 5 rounds. Main event time. Jon Jones against Dominick Reyes. Let's start off with the challenger here, Dominick Reyes. Coming into this fight 12-0. Was just working IT. You fighting for the LFA a couple years ago, 2 years ago. Makes his debut June of 2017 against Joaquin Christensen and has racked up 4 finishes in 6 UFC fights. Let me make sure my math is correct there. 4 finishes in 6 UFC fights. The guys that he's gotten finishes over, Joaquin Christensen, who was way too old to be fighting in the UFC at the time, Jeremy Kimball, who is average at best, Jared Cannonier, I'll give it to him, but Jared Cannonier's a middleweight. Should have got that OSP finish, let's be honest. I was right at the buzzer. That should have been declared a TKO round 3, minute 5. Don't give a shit. That was a TKO. KO. Super close fight to Volkan Ozdemir. A lot of people are saying Volkan Ozdemir on that fight. Tony not being one of them, but he always keeps talking about that. And then Chris Weidman, the ghost of Chris Weidman, trying to rejuvenate his career at 205 pounds. Comes up short, doesn't last more than 1 minute and 43 seconds against a heavy-hitting, up-and-comer, and hungry Dominick Reyes. That's about it, though. Dominick Reyes, he's going to have a lot of issues establishing that head kick that he's so well known for. I think it was the Jordan Powell fight. He finished that guy in less than a minute, but that was that famous, he throws a strike. Jordan Powell waves his finger or something, or nods his head, or shakes his head like that, didn't do anything, and then fucking Dominick Reyes lands a beautiful head kick and absolutely stiffs him. He's not going to be able to do that against Jon Jones, let's be honest. I think that the dexterity and variety of strikes that Jon Jones is able to throw with his legs, especially his left leg kick, it's going to be giving Dominick Reyes issues. It's going to be giving Reyes issues in terms of setting up his strikes, in terms of managing the distance. And one thing that Jon does well is manage his distance. And people can make all the jokes about the fact that he sticks his fingers out and, that's why he's able to keep people away. But with his reach and how far he actually gets and how he moves his head back as well, he's able to maintain that striking distance. And Dominick Reyes is going to be one of the bigger guys he's going up against. Let's get the actual statistics in terms of metrics. 6'4", 77-inch reach, and we got Jones at 6'4", 84.5-inch reach. So he's still going to be able to have that wingspan difference here. But I think the kicks are what needs to be worrisome for Jon Jones. We did see early in the Anthony Smith fight where Anthony Smith landed a pretty clean head kick on Jon Jones, but Jon Jones rolled with it, was able to push Anthony Smith against the cage, and then engage in the clinch. And, if he was hurt, I don't think he was completely hurt, but it did look like it landed pretty flush. He was able to get his wits back about him and then get back into the center of the cage and start doing his thing once again. With Dominick Reyes, I think he holds a lot more power in his legs than Anthony Smith, so it could be some issues for Jon Jones there. But that's where I think it stops. I think that Jon Jones has the obvious edge in wrestling. I think he's going to have the obvious edge in jiu-jitsu. He has the obvious edge in maintaining distance and establishing his presence as well. With his leg kicks, it's second to none. Just keeping people thinking. The way he's throwing it from like those side kicks to the shin, to the thigh, to the calf kicks, to here we go, right to the head, a head kick. His teeps to the body. second to none. It just allows him to disrupt his opponent's rhythm, and then he's able to, pull off whatever he wants to pull off, whether it's a spinning elbow or just a main 1-2 down the middle. He's so good at that. It's insane how good he is at that. So I think that's where it's going to be issues for Dominick Reyes. He's just not going to be able to get comfortable enough to get off those strikes. And I think in the first round is obviously when it's going to be most dangerous for Jon Jones. I think after that, Jon Jones is going to be able to have established his game and have Dominick Reyes on the back foot, and he's just going to have to worry about any type of Hail Marys. But that's where it ends. And if you're giving me minus 420 on Jon Jones to potentially parlay with Andrea Lee, if you guys remember that from earlier in the episode, I'm cool with that. The last time I checked, I think it was minus 160 to parlay Jon Jones and Andrea Lee at Sportbet, minus 161. I'm happy with that. I'm going to wait and see. I think there might be some people that bite on Dominick Reyes and look too much into Jon Jones losing to Thiago Santos last time around and having closer fights and not finishing people and, being on the downswing of his career. Let people throw out those narratives. Let people buy into the knockout of Dominick Reyes, knocking out Chris Weidman last time around. And let's see if we can get a better on Jon Jones. We might even get a better number on Andrea Lee as well, but not 100% sure about that. But I am looking at Jon Jones and Andrea Lee parlayed as my lock of the night play, or the under 2.5 of the Lingo and Zalal fight. Those are two plays I'm looking at as my lock of the night play. I may end up playing both of them, but not both as lock of the night plays. We'll see about that. But I love this Jon Jones and Andrea Lee parlay. You can't bank on a fighter getting, whose only chance is to knock a guy out, especially when you're talking about the opposition being the GOAT, being Jon Jones. We haven't seen a chink in his game. Say again, I don't give a shit. I'm throwing that Thiago Santos fight out the window. That was just such a weird performance from Jon Jones. And I think, and I was telling Tony as well, I may have said it on the Combatistors episode as well that we did most recently, but the Jon Jones that we heard in his press conference against Dominick Reyes, different. It seemed like he had something to prove, and we've seen his Twitter lash outs recently as well, where he's talking about Dominick Reyes being a can crusher and how he doesn't belong on his level and all that stuff. I think we're going to go see a Jon Jones that like the Jon Jones that we see in rematches as of late. The Daniel Cormier 2 fight, he goes out there and finishes him in the third round. The Alexander Gustafsson fight, I think that was the third round or fourth round. He just goes in with this mentality to finish and set a statement. And I think that's what he's going to do against Dominick Reyes, just to show everybody, all right, I'm ready. He's already talked about going to heavyweight. Maybe that's going to be his next fight too. Maybe he goes out there, dominates Dominick, and then says, all right, heavyweight division, get your asses ready. The GOAT's coming up. And I think that's going to be kind of this fight for him. There's nobody really left. Alexander Rakic was the closest, and then he gets stifled by Volkan Oezdemir, unfortunately. That's going to be a road bump. So maybe Oezdemir comes back, fights 2 more fights, and then Jon Jones comes back down and, defends the 205 belt. I think that we'll see Jon Jones go up and down and be active with it as well. He says he wants to fight for another 10 years. Fucking let him do it. Let him hold the heavyweight and light heavyweight belt, which is something that I think is very much capable of doing, considering the landscape that we have. But in terms of this fight is all his. No bones about it. I'm not giving Dominick Reyes that much shot, and I'm more than willing to parlay Jones at the minus 407 line that he's currently at, but I'm going to wait it out and see if we get anything better. That's it. That's the Lock-Cast for UFC 247. Yeah, haven't made any official plays yet, but as you guys can tell, what I'm heavily leaning here. May change throughout the week. I usually put out a final thoughts video on Friday evening right after the weigh-ins, but I normally just release that to my Patreon members, so make sure you guys check that out. I'm going to link it below. Make sure you guys check out the tape index as well. I had the commercial at the beginning of this episode. Make sure you guys check that shit out. That's it. I'm done. It's a long night. It's 11 p.m. I'm probably going to get this out as soon as I can. But thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys as always. And we'll see you guys next week. 8 straight weeks. We're going to be hammering away, guys. Let's get the money this weekend.